Hey there. Welcome to the Pelvis Project podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Roxy. We're two pelvic health experts brought together by passion for our careers, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and the desire for intentional relationships.
Join us in our mission to spread pelvic floor awareness and start conversations surrounding the truth behind genuine health, imperfect wellness, and joyfully navigating life. We are so glad you are here with us.
Let's start the conversation.
Hello, Roxy.
Hi, Megan.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, Roxy just woke up from a nap, and let's just tell everybody we're recording right now. It's 9:02 p.m.
I fell
Sweet
asleep
Roxy.
putting my 2.5-year-old to bed on accident.
Yeah, on accident.
I mean, I was purposely putting her to bed. I accidentally fell asleep. So here we are.
That's a good parenting. All right. Well, let's start off. Tell me something good.
I just got back from Colorado. Every year, some girlfriends and I take a hiking trip, and it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, just everything about it. I think
love it.
getting away, I think getting in the mountains, I think doing something hard, being around. And these friends are a lot of them are like from undergrad / some kind of connection to undergrad. But there's like sometimes new people too that come along. But we trust each other not to bring a dud, basically. There was just a lot of good that came from it, I don't know, there's just something about like a girls' trip, that with low-key girls that is really refreshing and restoring. And so, I feel like that's my tell me something good, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds like fun. I thought of you all weekend. It was probably so nice in Colorado.
It was. It was lovely.
Okay, tell me something good. I just got back from this weekend from going to Kansas City, which, for reference, for those that are not Kansans, is like 2.5 hours away from Wichita. But I went to Kansas City. Our church has a marriage retreat every year, and our husband, Roxy, our husband, and I went.
Sister wives. Yeah. We do have separate husbands.
My husband and I, we do have separate husbands. We went to, I'm like dying right now because I was watching like The Secret Lives of the Mormon Wives or whatever, and that just made me laugh. Anyway, my husband and I we've gone for the past 7 years, and it's so wild to think back that we've been that many times. And it's always just so fruitful, and we learn something every time we go. And it's also fun to look back and see how far we've come and like positive changes that we've made and learned and put into play. So yeah, it's always just such a good weekend to get away, and we had a good time. So that was my tell me something good. And and hopefully my other something good is maybe the snot will quit running from my nose, because I've been fighting this like sinus stuff for like 2 weeks now. So if I have to pause to blow my nose, have no fear. All right. Well, we're going to talk about something that really gets me fired up. We're going to get a little spicy tonight. We're going to talk about some of these devices that are out on the market. The reason why this got brought up for me is I'm just seeing here locally more chatter about the Emsella chair. The Emsella chair, also known as like the Kegel chair. So this is a device that is being marketed as FDA approved, and you sit on this chair and it causes like thousands of pelvic floor contractions. It claims to help with incontinence, fix your incontinence, improve sexual function, and even reaching into claims of like it's going to improve your core strength and your leg strength. And that to me just like, it literally makes me giggle inside because I don't even have words. It like makes my blood boil. At the same time, it makes me laugh. And so anyway, we're seeing more of this pop up around, and we just really want to if you don't agree with us, quit listening. But
or let us
we're just going to talk about
I'd love to
why
hear
we kind of feel.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Yeah, like what's been your experience about it? But I just feel like there's just a lot of muddy in the water right now with it, and we're going to get into that.
There's a lot of muddy. and it's expensive to use. We'll talk about that cost wise. And so we're just going to talk more about like why we feel like these sorts of like gadgets, if you will, or machines are kind of a waste of money and hope, if you really think about it, because that's all. I mean, it's just trying to sell you on a quick fix, basically. So really, we kind of think about like at the end of the day, let's be real, no vibrating chair or like an overpriced egg or an app that's connected to a gadget. None of that's going to fix your pelvic floor while you're laying there just like scrolling Instagram or reading a book. Like it's just not going to happen. There could be some sort of something that is, we might see some sort of improvement, but at the end of the day, that's not functional whatsoever. And we're going to talk more about why they're mostly just hype and it's not going to help. So Roxy's going to start us off with number one. We have 5 things we're going to talk about.
Sure. So the first point that we want to make with this to try to clear the air is that you can't outsource your body awareness. These machines don't think for us. They aren't helping us understand our body. They aren't helping us feel our body. And body awareness is huge. So like pressing a button isn't going to teach you how to engage your pelvic floor. It's definitely not going to teach you how to relax it. It might do that for you, but as soon as you get off of it, it's going to, your brain hasn't learned how to do that if it's done it for you. And so that's 90% of the problem is body awareness. And we just got done talking about that with Paige. If you haven't listened, we were talking about chronic pain and just the importance of our brain function and how it's in charge of our body and how that connection is so important to just good function. These devices are skipping that education part and the pelvic floor function. It's not just about more strength like they're claiming. It's about timing and it's about coordination and it's about balance. And those are like intangible things that our body has to do on its own. And so we can't outsource that. We can't have this machine teach our brain to think and to control our body. Basically, when that happens, we are delegating that function to a machine rather than our brain. And that isn't going to help us then when we're apart from that machine.
Yeah. And I think for that too, this like we can't outsource our body awareness. We have literally kind of been living in a world where everything's go, 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 fast, fast, fast. We don't slow down enough to even listen to our bodies, where that's gotten us in a lot of trouble where we realize like, oh, my body's been kind of talking to me and I've been overriding it. And that's where we start to see like chronic illness and sickness and all this. We don't know when to stop. And so also with this body awareness piece is this education piece. I mean, here we are in this mission to spread awareness to women about learning about our bodies and that we need to be educated on our bodies because we weren't educated properly when we were younger. And then here we have this chair coming onto the scene, like really basically need to know all that. Just sit on this chair and just make it better. And that continues the narrative of like, something's wrong with you. Well, let's just fix it. But let's not even worry about, like, let's not talk about like root cause or how the whole systems work together, or, hey, like, I'm going to teach you all these things. It's going to get better. Then you're going to have all these tools. So if it were to show up again, you have these tools and this awareness of why it's happening, how to address it yourself. And then if you need hands-on, hands-on. The other thing, honestly, to me, the power of having human touch and having somebody touch your body and work on your nervous system. And when I say that, I think people think like, oh yeah, you're a pelvic floor therapist. Well, I don't want touch. I want internal work. Listen, it's like 25% of what we do. 75% of what we do is not internal work. So probably we've done episodes on this. We'd have to scroll back, but I'll get off my soapbox with this. But like, it just kills me because it's literally almost like moving us backwards in this movement forward about body awareness and body confidence and education in women. And we talk about how we want more research in women's health and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, so then you're just going to like sit somebody on a chair? I don't know. Anyway. So, okay. We can move on to number 2 unless you have anything else, Roxy. We'll be here all night on number one if
Well,
Megan keeps
yeah, no,
talking.
I was gonna say I do have 4. I mean, I guess I just was just
Oh, yeah,
thinking
go for it.
I was just thinking as you were talking, what year was it, like 3 years ago when they just finally, outlined the anatomy of the clitoris, right? Like, it
Yeah.
is, it's like,
Yeah, so some
what do we
yeah.
want? Like, what do we actually want? If we're going to have these cookie cutter fix-its or just this sit on this, it's gonna, like, it's gonna fix all your problems, why would we push for more research? Why would we want to know more? Just to kind of piggyback when as you're talking about that, I'm like, yeah, here we just learned about our body. Like we just kind of finalized the anatomy of the clitoris for a female,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
we can't have it. You can't have both. Like you can't.
Seriously.
I don't want to say you can't,
Right.
but it's just like that is like you hit it the nail on the head of that's a mixed message of saying let's
Yeah.
really learn this. Let's do a good job. Let's be educated. Let's empower, like you said. And then it's like, oh, but then it doesn't matter because we're just gonna throw this
Just
at you
come
and
sit on this chair.
one,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Like, these are, like, lifelong empowering skills that you learn when you actually come to pelvic floor rehab or pelvic floor therapy, and then or you go and sit on a chair and you're just questioning
and you don't take
you're
anything
not
with
doing
you.
anything. I mean,
Yeah.
no, and there's no I'm sorry too, but there's no accountability, honestly, in my mind of, like, us, like, for I'm even thinking of myself, like, what's the saying? Which, I mean, I rely on this all the time, like, "Nothing worth doing is ever easy." Like,
Mm.
it's gonna be a little harder, like, it takes time, commitment, and I say that, and, I mean, you can still make amazing progress in 3, 4 visits in pelvic floor therapy, so,
Well, I'm just thinking, you walk away with
yeah,
understanding of your body, how it's supposed to
yeah,
work, tools that do work that are effective in correcting your problem. No one can take those things away from you. The next time, then, let's say
yeah,
5 years, 10 years down the road, if you start to have a problem, you have these foundational skills then that you can fall back on because now you know how the body's supposed to work. And if you need help, we will walk alongside you
yeah.
again for sure. But like, there's also just these really lifelong skills of prevention, maintenance, things like that that you're not going to get by sitting on a machine or using a machine to do it for you.
Yeah. And I think that then when it crosses into this like core strength and leg strength stuff, Arksy and I were talking about this before. Do we all remember the ab devices that were hit the scene where everybody was like, wear this and you'll get a six pack? And we figured out that that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So it's mind blowing to me. And they used to have, I saw somebody here locally when it wasn't the like Emsella chair, but it was one of the intravaginal devices for like vaginal rejuvenation and tightening that was like, you no longer need to go to pelvic floor therapy and do thousands of Kegels. And I was like, okay, clearly you don't know what we even do at pelvic floor therapy if you're still trying to like if you're trying to use that example, because that's not even correct. So then I get frustrated because we're like, literally, people are talking about what we do that don't know what we do.
Mhm.
And, or maybe that was their experience and there's still pelvic floor therapists out there doing that. So then people think like, oh yeah, that's all I do. And it just didn't work. And, oh,
A lot of the places that have the vaginal rejuvenation also have the Emsella. So you can't argue both those points because one's coming against it and the other as a machine and the other's promoting it as a machine. So it's like you can't have both. I don't know. I mean, you can,
I
I
know.
guess, but you can't make that argument
Yeah.
both. You're discrediting half your marketing or one whole of the product that you offer as a machine. So anyway,
Right. Okay, we digress from number
yes.
one. Okay. Number two, I'm just going to say we'll call it the Kegel chair or other devices that are at type med spa type places. So we're not talking about like Amazon, like little, like the egg you insert to the vagina, but like these bigger machine type of devices. They cost thousands. And for what? So it basically is quote unquote, like kind of, if you will, contracting or like zapping your muscles into a contraction, kind of like thinking about like a glorified master of the pelvic floor. And this is without an assessment or individualized treatment. it's a very expensive guessing game, basically. And many people with pelvic floor dysfunction don't need more contractions. They need to learn how to let go of their pelvic floor. So to me, if we're doing proper screening before we're going to put somebody on this device, we would have very few people actually needing this device, because 95% of people that we see coming in, maybe even higher, it's not that they need to learn how to contract their pelvic floor. I'm literally beside myself. And then the other thing I'm going to say to this is I had a rep come in my clinic. I think I might have told you about this, Roxy. Did I tell you about the rep
Mm-hmm.
that came in? Okay. A rep came in to our clinic. I feel bad. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But okay, let's back up. A rep to some company came in and also claiming with this stuff that it helps aid in sexual appreciation or sexual dysfunction. And again, the majority of people that we're seeing, for them to improve their sexual function, need to learn how to lengthen their pelvic floor for better coordination of contraction. Not sit there and just contract it over and over and over again and getting it into a shortened state, which then potentially is going to have you have less of an intense like orgasm, basically. So I just was like, okay, but you're going to find like these companies will produce research to show you it's how it is with everything out there. You could go do that with any of the hot topics out there you're going to find research either way. But I'm like, use our brains, get educated on what actually the pelvic floor does and what it is, and use our common sense of why this just doesn't make sense. And to do this stuff, it's thousands of dollars because it's required to do that more than once. And I calculate how many times you could come in and see one of us for the amount of money it costs to do this. And that's like a full plan of care. And you would be like, you would be 1,000% better off with what you've learned, because we're also addressing the whole body versus like sitting. So that's number 2. Got anything
Yeah.
else with that?
No,
Your
because it
thoughts?
segues into number 3 of that the pelvic floor isn't a one size fits all issue. And so, I mean, Megan already has touched on it, but thinking about, what's causing your symptoms. So is leakage because of weakness? Megan and I both confidently say majority of the people that come in for us with leakage, it's not because they just are weak. Like there's so much more to it. There's the cord we talked about earlier. There's the timing, the coordination, the balance, the lengthening, all these things that have to work together and have to finesse together in order for that to happen. So we can't just assume that if someone's leaking, then they're weak, because actually clinically, we're not seeing that very often, if like very often at all. So then is it from tension? Is it from scar tissue, nerve dysfunction? Without really evaluating someone, trained in evaluating the pelvic floor, basically. Using one of those devices is just like throwing money at a dartboard blindfolded, like just hoping that you're facing the right direction and your aim is right. And it's just, it's a big guess. And our health isn't something we want to guess at. If we applied this to anything else, it would be so silly. If you're having headaches, what if it was like cancer? We wouldn't, if you had a brain tumor, but we're like, oh, put this little helmet on your head and it'll relieve all your headaches. Well, it's like, no, we're not going to fiddle around with that. We're going to figure out why, what are we doing? Or we're at least going to
Yeah.
rule out some of the major things here and really try to fix the problem. So it just doesn't feel good while you're wearing this helmet. I mean, that's just a example, right? But like our health isn't worth guessing on.
Mm-mm.
I mean, some people are obviously doing it, and that's up to you. But
Yeah.
we're just in a world of so many gimmicks that it's like, let's not guess with this.
Yeah. And so I would say, like, if you think about it in general, we as pelvic floor specialists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, those of us that have been trained in assessing the pelvic floor and giving you proper report of what we find, XYZ. We know that our family practice doctors refer to us when they have, when they're uncertain about stuff with pelvic floor. OBGYNs do, and they are doing they do a pelvic exam. Obviously, their pelvic exam is different than ours because they're looking at different factors than we are. And so urologists, urogynecologists, all of them, I mean, yes, we're still working to get more doctors to know what we do and refer to us XYZ, but I'm just going to use this as a blanket statement, a generalization. Those doctors that believe in pelvic floor therapy, they know where they're like, yep, I'm going to have you go over and I want you to be assessed by this pelvic floor therapist because they value the information that is going to be given back to them and they trust us to treat them. If you're going in somewhere and you potentially are going to go use one of these devices and the provider is not saying, first, I want you to go have a pelvic floor assessment done by a trained pelvic floor therapist. Absolutely not. Like, they're skipping a huge piece. And that's that, as Roxy said, the one size fits all. Basically, sitting on a chair is a one size. It can't get any clearer that that is a one size fits all. So if we're skipping, it would basically be like,
it'd be like if you went in and they're like, this worked for the last patient in here, so I'm just going to do it for you too. Without even looking at you,
yeah,
without hearing, and you're not even like getting to the truth. What if you had high blood pressure and you're like, this dosage worked for the last dude, so here you go. Like,
yeah,
that would be
on it. Or like,
huge red flag.
Or like, you go in and like you have a toothache and they're like, yeah, you have a cavity without checking. Like they're just going to go in and give a filling. And like all you have is a toothache and they're going to give a filling, but they don't even know like what's the purpose of the toothache. It could be that it's your sinuses that are backed up. It could be like your hormones are making your teeth sensitive. Like it's just wild when you put it into perspective in other areas and other healthcare areas that it blows my mind, but yeah, it's happening. So yeah, one size fits all. Okay, number 4. So no device, I spoke about this just a little bit ago, but no device replaces hands-on whole person care. So the pelvic floor is connected to your breath, your posture, your core, your stress response, your hormone health. So at the end of the day, what we're saying is with these devices, let's shock it 10,000 times and call it good and send you on your way. So like that's where, especially when it comes to the pelvic floor, and we will say this all like till the end of time, the pelvic floor muscle group is so beautifully connected to our nervous system, our autonomic system. And if you are not addressing or talking about the stress response in someone's body or digging into that or seeing kind of, what other factors are going on and hormones and all of that. And like, let's face it, like early in our careers, we definitely treat it differently than we do now, but we're looking at all of this stuff. And so again, going in and doing these devices, like, you know what? Fine. If you think you just want a quick fix, go for it. But again, we're missing so much and it's so powerful for us to finally find a space that allows us to slow down enough and get more a holistic root cause whole body assessment and care. Gosh, just I'm a loss for words.
That's okay. I mean, it's not untrue
I
at
don't even
this
know what
point.
else we could say about that.
Yeah. Well, kind of our final point here then is that the marketing strategy with it doesn't just align with wellness and care. They're using fear and shame. And
Yeah.
so narratives like fix your bladder in 6 sessions or tighten your vagina or like reverse aging. These messages are just like they're preying on insecurity, not science. Pelvic health isn't a vanity metric. We aren't looking for like perfection. We're looking for function at the end of the day, not this just like quick fiction treatment that is so jazzy that, of course, it sounds too good to be true. No one who works in the health space is ever going to guarantee results just because, and no, I don't want to say guarantee results, but no one's ever going to say this is 100%. Like our bodies are just individual. They aren't that one size fits all. To have these really big claims that then fuel into your insecurity is marketing. That's what that is. And so I think just calling it what it is, naming it for that to say, that sounds really amazing, but is that truth? Like, is that actual? And I think unfortunately, when it comes to our health and if we are like fearful or if we are undereducated or we aren't sure what's going on, then sometimes that type of marketing is tricky. It's hard to identify, but I think to be able to stand back and objectively say, that's not thorough, that's not individualized, that's not hands-on. We can go back through all these points we've made. we can then call it what it is and say that's marketing. That's salesy at
Yeah.
the end of the day. And that's not what our heart is for people who are struggling with pelvic health dysfunctions. We aren't messing around with that. Like that doesn't, that's why we're talking about this. It doesn't sit well with us to see this industry be preyed on by gimmicks. It just doesn't, that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that feeling of kind of being preyed on, I think that's where some of I get like fired up inside, where that blood boil comes from is I'm like, okay, let's not take advantage of the fact that women are looking to improve these things. And, I remember at Pelvicon, there was a session we did that was kind of like on the topic of different devices that were out on the market. And, there are those few people out there in the population that some of the maybe like internal vaginal rejuvenation or whatever they are might have benefit from. And I remember talking to one of the speakers about that. But it's just not the common, like it's not the majority of people. So I just think we have to be very careful how we're speaking about this. Again, to me, we're kind of moving the mission backwards when we're trying to sell things like, you want to change the appearance of your vulva or you want this and that, when we're also very much trying to say like, hey, proper education is everybody's vulva looks different. There's not anything wrong with your anatomy. To me, I take a bird's eye view at it. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're having conflicting, like, I want my daughter and young girls to learn about their bodies and knowing that they're great and that's the way they were made and designed. And here we are, having these devices that are like, okay, but yeah, you can make it better. And we already just have so much of that in our culture. And yeah, like nothing's wrong with certain aspects. If, you choose to want to go do what you want to do, it's fine. But again, it's just something that we need to be thinking about. So at the end of the day, we'll leave you with this. If you want real change, you need a plan based on your body, your symptoms, and your goals, not a magic chair or a magic device that costs more than a vacation and delivers less than your high school sex ed class. Because, well, let's face it, we all miss that. And you will learn it in pelvic floor therapy.
That missed the mark.
So missed the mark. So if you want to fix your pelvic floor for real, or you want to address your pelvic floor dysfunction symptoms or explore that, you need to work with a pelvic floor PT or OT and make sure that they are trained and have the proper knowledge to do that, and that you're actually working with an actual human and not a chair. So you know where to find Roxy and I. Just a little reminder, her clinic handle is at Good Life Pelvic Health, and mine is at Kansas Pelvic Health. And if you are not in our area and are looking for a pelvic floor therapist, we have so many amazing colleagues that are within our little circle of trust that we are happy to refer you to and or direct you into the direction of a website that you can use to search to find therapists that have been certified and trained in pelvic floor therapy. So you know where to find us. Thank you for listening. And until next time, we'll keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Pelvis Project podcast. Help us continue the conversation by liking and sharing this episode with friends. And if you really want to do us a solid, leave us a review. If you'd like to follow us on social, check out the show notes for links. And remember, this week, take a deep breath and relax your pelvic floor.